Hi, this is Cheryl Peterson from Healing Science Today. I'm going to read a contemporary Christian Science Bible lesson sermon from the English Standard Version of the Bible, copyrighted by Crossway Bibles, and from 21st Century Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, a modern version of Mary Baker Eddy's Science and Health, copyrighted by Cheryl Peterson. The subject is Parables and Truth. Golden text is from Genesis. And God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which is their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Jeremiah. Declare this in the house of Jacob. Proclaim it in Judah. Hear this, O foolish and senseless people, who have eyes but see not, who have ears but hear not. An appalling and horrible thing has happened in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests rule in their directions. My people love to have it so, but what will you do when the end comes? 21st Century Science and Health. Leaving all for Christ includes forsaking popularity and gaining true Christianity. Any attempt to engage society's friendship in order to gain dominion over humankind comes from worldly weakness. Society is a foolish juror, listening only to one side of the case. Justice often comes too late to secure a verdict. People with mental work before them have no time for gossip about false law or testimony. To reconstruct timid justice and place the fact above the falsehood is the work of time. Love will finally mark the hour of harmony, and spiritualization will follow, for love is spirit. Before error is wholly destroyed, there will be interruptions of the general human routine. History is full of records of suffering. The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. In vain, mortals try to kill truth with neglect, slander, and bullet. However, the sword of spirit topples error. Martyrs are the human links that connect one stage with another in the history of religion. They are Earth's luminaries, serving to enlighten and refine the materialistic atmosphere. Martyrs permeate humanity with godly ideals. Consciousness of right doing brings its own reward, but merit is not seen and appreciated by onlookers. Adversity teaches human beings not to lean on a collapsible crutch. Spiritual development doesn't come from planting seeds in the dirt of materialist views. Those seeds rot, whereas love nurtures the higher joys of spirit, which have no taint of earth. We forget this when life is fine, but when mortals belch or the economy goes sour or people think their partner is boring, the heart is pierced with sadness until we remember that sorrow can be therapeutic, forcing us to enter the domain of spiritual happiness and reliance. God will take care of us as we travel a trajectory, unfolding new views of divine goodness and love. Matthew. Then the disciples came and said to Jesus, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" And he answered them, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For to the one who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance, but from one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. Indeed, in their case, the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled that says, 'You will indeed hear, but never understand, and you will indeed see, but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turned, and I would heal them.' But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For truly I say to you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see, and did not see it, and to hear what you hear, and did not hear it. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, yet he has no root in himself, but endures for a while. And when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. As for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it. He indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. 21st century science and health. Jesus strips all disguise from that which goes against life, truth, and love when his teachings are fully understood. By parable and argument, Jesus explains the impossibility of good producing evil. Jesus also scientifically demonstrates the allness of good, proving, but by what are wrongly called miracles, that sin, sickness, and loss are beliefs, elusive errors, which he could and did destroy. It would sometimes seem as if truths were rejected because humility and spirituality are the conditions of its acceptance, while Christendom generally demands so much less. Humanity advances slowly out of old thought patterns. The unwillingness to learn all things correctly binds spiritual understanding in chains. When a relationship is going well, pay attention. Otherwise, an increasing dependence on one another may yank the rug out from under your feet. If, on the other hand, your relationship is rocky, don't react, but hope, pray, and wait patiently on divine wisdom to point the way. Matthew. Jesus put another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, and the weeds appeared also, and the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, 'Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds?' He said to them, 'An enemy has done this.' So the servants said to him, 'Then do you want us to go and gather them?' But he said, 'No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the harvest time I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn.'" 21st century science and health. The constant thinking of something other than spirit can inadvertently sow seeds of reliance on matter. Don't become so captivated by a remedy that every itch, twinge, or burp is dosed. Clients may reap the effect of this mistaken reliance if healers impulsively endorse drugs, homeopathic powders, acupuncture needles, or magnets as a cure-all. Descriptions and advertisements of disease given by physicians, pharmaceutical companies, genetic engineers, and health departments are prolific sources of sickness. The human mind is the agriculturist of error, but we can teach the human mind not to harm the body. We can root out of the human mind the weeds of sickness. It is constructive for physicians, therapists, and practitioners to know and act on the truth that mind is existent. Healers should not take the position that matter is the only cause. Reports in psychiatry, physiology, and genetics, sustained by what is termed material law, promote sickness and disease. It should not be true that so long as you read medical reports, you will be sick. Doctors can take note that it is better not to implant disease in the thoughts of your patients by declaring disease to be a fixed fact, even before you go to work to eradicate the disease through the material faith inspired. Instead of furnishing thought with fear, try to correct the turbulent emotion by the influence of divine love, which removes fear. When governed by God, the ever-present mind, who understands all things, we know that with God all things are possible. One example of this way to living truth, which heals the sick, is found in the science of divine mind as taught and demonstrated by Christ Jesus. It's impossible to return to physical or mental conditions after having left them because they are always changing. An acorn, after having dropped to the ground and sprouted, will never return to its previous condition. The germinated seed has a new form and a different state of existence. When here or hereafter the belief of temporality is extinct, the error which has held the belief dissolves with the belief and never returns to the old condition. The caterpillar, transformed into a beautiful butterfly, is no longer a worm. The butterfly doesn't return to fraternize with or control the worm. Such a retrograde transformation is impossible in science. Darkness and light, infancy and adulthood, sickness and health are opposites, different beliefs which never blend. Who will say that infancy can articulate the ideas of adulthood, or that darkness can represent light? There is no bridge across the gap which divides such opposite conditions as the spiritual and the physical. Jesus loved little children because of their freedom from wrong and their receptiveness to right. While adults hesitate between two opinions or argue with false beliefs, youth makes easy and rapid strides toward truth. A little girl who had occasionally listened to my explanations badly wounded her finger. She seemed not to notice the wound. On being questioned about it, she answered ingenuously, there is no sensation in matter." Running off with happy eyes, she presently added, "Mama, my finger is not a bit sore." It might have been months or years before the child's parents would have laid aside their drugs or reached the mental height that their daughter so naturally attained. The stubborn beliefs and theories of parents often choke the good seed in the minds of the children. Superstition, like the birds of the air, snatches away the good seed before it has sprouted. Teaching children divine science among their first lessons is useful. Don't teach hurtful knowledge. Monitor and reduce discussions, theories, or thoughts about sickness. To prevent the experience of error and its suffering, keep out of the minds of your children fearful, sinful, or diseased thoughts. Fearful and diseased thoughts are excluded on the same principle as the exclusion of sinful thoughts. This makes divine science available early in life. Spirit God gathers unformed thoughts into their proper channels and unfolds these thoughts, even as love opens the petals of a holy purpose in order that that purpose may appear.